starting. We began the programme earlier on with a rather unusual test session on the Paul Ricard circuit, and we return there now at the end of this edition of Motors Legends with about as unusual motor experience as you will find. Well, we're going to take a look at the Espace F1, which was a very surprising concept. The most sophisticated mix between an everyday car, a Renault Espace, and a Formula One car, since it's the World Championship engine that has been put inside. Well, the engine in this vehicle is the Renault RS5, the engine from the World Championship winning Formula One car. The gearbox is Williams. So all the specialists have come together from Formula One with Renault and Williams to create this.
Réellement des gens impératifs dans le système, parce qu'il faut faire fonctionner ces éléments très pointus avec les spécialistes qui les entourent.
Il y a une puissance qui est phénoménale.
Well, the power is phenomenal, like that seen in a Formula One car, but this remains a Renault Espace. It's an explosive cocktail.
Et c'est vrai que ça fait un cocktail un petit peu détonnant, donc forcément des sensations.
Well, the sensations are new to me, mainly because you're not sitting in anything like the same position as a Formula One car. But when it comes to acceleration, it's just like a real F1 machine. The other surprising thing is the view that you get from an Espace, with its large bay windows and very wide visual field. We're not used to that in Formula One, and it's very surprising.
Puisqu'il y a des grandes baies vitrées, il y a un champ visuel qui est très vaste, et c'est vrai que tout ça
really quite extraordinary.
Tout à fait surprenant au niveau des sensations, mais c'est quelque chose d'assez extraordinaire.
But before we return to Le Castellet, let's take a short diversion to Magny-Cours, where on this beautiful 1995 morning several important people were making an appearance. In particular, we recognise Louis Schweitzer, the CEO of Renault, and Philippe Godin, chairman of Matra Automobiles at the time. Well, they're getting ready to be driven by Alain Prost himself for a road test in the Espace F1. And honour where honour is due. Louis Schweitzer has the luck to be the first passenger in the Espace F1. The driver is the professor himself, and everyone is holding their breath. This car is unique in the world.
C'est quand même pas que non? Ah oui, non, c'est joli. Hein? C'est joli. Non, c'est une extraordinaire bête. Ce qui est dommage, c'est qu'on ne puisse pas... On peut en faire une vingtaine, Président, si vous voulez. Oui, et faire des courses d'espace F1. On peut imaginer quelque chose. C'est un grand plaisir parce qu'on a l'habitude.
Well, this is a great pleasure because we're used to seeing Alain Prost from the outside, and to be beside him in the car, driven by him, is something extraordinary.
Quelque chose d'un peu inespéré.
Well, let's have a word about the vehicle. Is it what you imagined? Well, the thing is, it's different from what I imagined. It's the feeling of stability and security. On the other hand, I was very surprised by the noise, which is that of a Formula One engine, and the acceleration and braking and the forces that you're subjected to in the corners. And I was hoping to feel those things because we've all heard about them, but the strongest impression of all is the feeling of being right on the rails. Well, the V10 is just as I left it. You get into the car, the engine starts, and you really feel as if you're in a Formula One machine. I haven't been in a very high-performance racing car for more than a year and a half now, and this is like getting back into a Formula One car. I often drive an Espace, which is my company car in some ways. As a result, it's an incredible feeling. You get in and you have the impression of being in a normal Espace. The only thing missing in the car is the radio. It's extraordinary. For people who have never experienced this kind of feeling when it comes to the noise, the brakes, or even the car's physique, because it's a relatively heavy car, this remains a pretty incredible experience.
Les sensations en virage de côté physique parce qu'il faut quand même travailler un peu. C'est une voiture qui est aussi relativement lourde, mais c'est assez incroyable. Well, I think the people who are driven in this kind of car will really be able to imagine that it's a Formula One machine. A Formula One car weighs around 500 kilos. The Espace, well, 1,500 kilos. But since they have the same engine, you can imagine the weight-to-power ratio that exists in F1. A corner that we take here in third or fourth with the Espace is taken flat out in sixth with a Formula One car. And President Schweizer can now imagine what it feels like. It's now Philippe Guedon's turn. He was the chairman of Automobile Matra, a brand that has sadly now disappeared and which Motors legend celebrated last month on Motors TV. Here again, the same quasi-surreal impression as we watch this heavy road car, like the fastest Formula One car, and see it go through the corners on the circuit in the Nevernay at very high speed.
Dur métier. Je peux pas m'empêcher de penser, vous savez, aux gens qui au début de l'espace disaient que c'était une camionnette. Ça aurait passé, hein. Disons-le, dans toute sa société. Disons-le. Ouais, c'est formidable. D'arriver quand même avec la masse de la bête. On voit aussi le progrès des pneumatiques.
Well, it's difficult to know what is the most impressive, whether it's the driver's talent, the power of the engine, or the overall capabilities of the car. The cocktail is impressive and remarkable, and despite the fact that I've been working with cars for a very long time, this is a day I'll never forget. Well, as we promised, we'll now go back to the Paul Ricard circuit to see the rest of the tests of the Espace F1 on that morning. The cream of the French and international press had the honour of being invited to have a baptism of fire. The two drivers were Alain Prost and Eric Bernard. Bernard, who rather than Prost had undertaken the development of this surprising concept and who knew better than anyone the limits of the Espace F1. So there was little doubt that with these two demonstrators, sensations were going to be ever stronger than they were at Magny-Cours.
C'est géant, c'est là, c'est géant. Fabuleux. Merci Gérard. Bien.
Well, generally the opinions were enthusiastic. You could feel that those who had been lucky enough to have a go were still in shock and noticeably excited. Well, this was obviously an experience that was not going to be easily forgotten. And we're going to give you the chance to see what it feels like for yourselves. Eric Bernard is the driver, and the passenger is Christian Tortora, an experienced Formula One journalist who is well known on Canadian radio and television. It's in French, but it's still easy to understand. It must be magical.
Le plus fantastique, c'est les freinages. Ah oui. Ah, ça freine, c'est incroyable. C'est phénoménal. Et voilà, on bercaille. Enfin, on va pouvoir moins critiquer les pilotes F1. Et c'est, Eric, c'est surtout épuisant. Ah, physiquement, c'est dur. Hein.
C'est dur, hein?
Merci.
Merci à toi.
The last VIP passenger in the Espace F1 was none other than Frank Williams. At the time, Renault still provided the engines for Williams in Formula 1, so it was quite natural to invite him. It was perhaps more surprising that he accepted the proposition.
Mais le chef, la forme, c'était tellement spécial. On va arriver à cette chose qui arrive à une vitesse, parce que notre moteur, ça marche beaucoup. Même si c'est lourd, malgré tout, c'est relativement long pour accélérer, arriver à 270 ici, à 275.
You could see the expectation in Frank's face. Wouldn't have changed place for anything. Quite obviously, the Espace F1 was a concept that immediately fascinated Frank Williams. This motorsport lover, this was an interesting challenge and a new technological wager that was worth coming to see. So Frank Williams was also to enjoy the adventure. Given his handicap, it is difficult to imagine a test in which the car was pushed right to its limits. Renault's partner was not wearing a driving suit nor even a helmet. Eric Bernard did not wear a helmet either, but that was missing the point. Yes, the idea was to bring a smile to the face of a man who suffered and to provide one of the most surprising Formula One pictures of the 1990s. A picture that demands respect and sympathy and which shows a major player in the history of Formula One having the chance to live a day unlike any other.
So, it did good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, you want some more?
The acceleration, never imagined, eh? Yeah. And the Grand Prix car is something else again.
Yeah.
It's a very clever idea.